This is the video for session 1.3 of tutorial 1. We are going to continue the work that we started in the first two sessions. Primary things we're doing here is creating some links and also creating some lists as well. So that's the primary things that we'll be doing. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we want to do is to complete the menu page. Now we haven't created the menu page yet, so that's one that we need to work on. So on your folder that has all your files in it, I want you to come down to where it says CT_menu text file, all right, that one. Let's open that in Notepad++. And you guys know the drill by now. Since this is a new file, we need to add the author in. So add your first and last name, and then also add the date, which is for me is January 19th, 2022. And so you need to put the date that you're completing the project in there. All right, and we want to save that as just CT_menu.html. So we'll file, save as, get rid of that text addition on the end and just do .html. So CT_menu.html. We'll save that. All right. Now, if you don't already have it open, I already had mine open, but if you don't already have it open, open that CT_pages text file that has the items that we've been copying and pasting. All right, and we want to copy the ones from the mobile menu section here. So I'm going to highlight those, copy, and we'll come back over to our menu and paste those under our article tag under the mobile menu heading. We'll paste those. And for the time being, I am just going to, I believe that mostly like they have it here, except I am going to just add some spaces between each one of these elements. All right, just to space it out just a little bit. But basically, I'm going to leave it the same for right now. I might tab in just a little bit to make it a little easier for me to just have everything lined up here, but I'm not doing anything too major. All right. So the first thing that I want us to do is we've got basically three different list elements that we can use. The first one that notes that we have a description list is DL. Okay, and that will set aside that the whole, whatever's between those two tags is a description list. Then the term is going to be within the DT tag, and then the description itself will be in the DD tag. So we've got three different ones that we'll be using. So let me show you. Let's go ahead and get started here. Right after that heading 1 tag, let's start a new one and let's do DL and close that tag. Okay. Now at the bottom down here under the one for Thai red curry, all right, let's get do the closing DL tag. That's a /DL. So that's telling your web browser that everything between those two tags will be a description list. Now we've got to actually put the tag elements in there, but you get the idea. All right. So the first one that we're doing needs to be the term, and then the second one needs to be the definition. So we'll start with the first one up here, the basil beef sesame salad. That's our term. So we will do an opening DT tag for that to note that it's a term. And then we'll do a closing DT tag right after the word salad. right? And then the paragraph down there, which we're calling the description, we will be using a DD tag. So right before spicy, we'll do opening tag here, DD. Okay, and then right after the 995, we'll do a closing DD. Okay, and that's all there is to it for that. So we'll do that for each one of these. All right, so for curbside rice, we're going to do DT, close DT around curbside rice, and then we'll do DD around the actual paragraph. And we'll just do this for each one. Garlic, pepper, pork. This particular project is making me hungry. All right, so keep on going down your page until you have those tags around each one. It's not too hard. And hopefully you're not finding any of this hard. As you'll notice, you know, sometimes just by looking at the book, it looks a little bit scary, to be honest with you, sometimes in knowing exactly what to do. But I hope that you've seen that it's really not that scary once you actually get into it. All right. Now let's go ahead and save that file once you get finished adding your DL, DT, and DD tags in there. Go ahead and save that and go back over to your folder that has your files in it. And let's open up the menu page that we just created in our web browser and see what happens. So you should have the Curbside Tie logo up here at the top. You should have mobile menu, and then you should have the list items for each one. And everything looks like it should. Hopefully yours looks like mine. Okay. All right. And that's all there is to it. All right. So the next one that we need to do is doing the locations one. And so let me go back over to my folder here. And I think right off the top of my head, I believe that we have done everything now except for the location. So I believe this is the last one. And so find that CT locations text file. We'll right click and edit with Notepad++ once again. And you know the drill. Add your name and add the date that you're completing this project. Okay. And we're going to save this file. So file, save as. We're going to do, get rid of that text ending on there. And we will do ct_locations.html and save. All right. And then we are going to return to our pages file over here on the left side. It should be the last set of items to copy, and it should say today's locations. And we're going to copy the 4 locations out. All right, and paste that over in our locations file. We'll do that right under our heading element right there for under our article tag. And then you can just even up if you want to. I'm going to put a space actually between each one of these just to make it a little easier to see. So I'll just add a little space in here so that everything's on a separate line and it's sort of spaced out. There you go. So those are the locations that we just copied in. All right. And now we're doing actually the exact same thing that we did before. So it's really a review almost. We're doing the whole thing. We're coding it as a description list. So we'll do an opening tag up at the top here, right above the 11 a.m. We'll do an opening tag for DL. And then we'll do a closing tag for DL at the bottom. All right. And then each one of these will be in DT and DD tags. So the hours themselves will be the term in this case, and the addresses will be the descriptions. So 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., that's going to be within the DT tags. And then the address here will be in the DD tags. All right, and same thing for each one of these. So 2 to 4 will be in DT tags and the address DD. And do that for each one of these. I think it's pretty cool that this book is actually used all over the country, believe it or not. And I think it's pretty cool that most of the projects in here, they vary some, but a lot of them use North Carolina references. So it's pretty cool for us being in North Carolina that they use the same references. All right. And we will save that. Now, one thing that's a little bit different that we want to do this time, just what we're, it's not a requirement, but what it is it's showing that this particular description list is different from like the other one that we did. Okay. So in this opening DL tag up here, go right after the L, do a space, and we want to add ID equals open quote, CT underscore locations, close quote, just like that. So ID, DL space ID equals CT underscore locations. What that's doing, we added it to the opening DL tag only. You don't have to do anything to the closing one. And what that's just telling your web browser or any kind of site really that's looking at this is that this list is for locations. It's different from that first list that we did on the menu page or any others that we might do down the road. So that's all that's saying. All right, and then one more thing that we want to do is add an image in here. It's going to be a map. And that needs to be actually not in the list. It's going to be between the heading 1 tag and the description list tag. So right between the two, we're going to add the code in for an image. So image source. And hopefully as we do more and more of these terms will become more and more familiar with you. CT underscore map for this one, .png, close quote. And then we're going to do alt equals, and then no alt text, but we're just still going to put it in there. So open quote, close quote directly there. And then we'll do a slash symbol and then close that tag. All right, so you got that image source in there. That's just going to be an image for the map that we'll be adding in here. So I'll give you a minute to get that in. All right. All right. So let's save it and go back to our files here, and let's open up the locations file that we just created and see what we got. So you'll see our list that we created here. It's got the times in there, the addresses, and you've got the map that we added. Another thing that I think is pretty cool is the map that they have provided for us is actually a real map of Charlotte too. So you've got like Tryon Street in here. If you've been to Charlotte, you know that's pretty much the main street that goes downtown there. So that's a pretty cool thing that they link those two together. Okay, now the next thing that we want to do is create a navigation list. Now, this one is going to be just a little bit different. So before we did description lists, so we had like the DL, DT, and DD tags that we used. This one is going to be just a little bit different. And this one is actually going to be on the About page. So let's go back over to our files. And let's open our CT About page. Let's open that in Notepad++. All right, and they want us to add it, let's see. It's going to be within our header tag up here, and they want us to put it after the image. Okay, and so what several things that we're going to do with this one is we're creating an unordered list. All right, and you'll see the importance of that. Just basically the same thing in a way as a descriptive list like we used before, but it just is coded differently and it will appear differently. All right. The other thing that we're going to do is this is going to be a navigation list. So you could do an unordered list naturally. Okay, but we're going to add some special code in here to make it a note that this is a navigation list for the actual website and not just any ordinary unordered list. Okay, so the first thing we want to do after this image tag is let's create or add a tag in, I should say, for navigation. So we're going to do an opening tag called NAV. All right, just an opening tag for NAV, and that will note that it is a navigation list that we're doing. And then the next line, if you want to go down one and then tab over, we're going to do UL, okay? And what that stands for is unordered list. Okay, so now an ordered list would be if we were doing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that type of thing. Okay, that would be OL. An unordered list is UL, and that would be pretty much bullets, okay, or something along those lines, something that doesn't have a numerical value to it. It's going to be something that would be, you know, that not in a specific order, essentially. All right, so go ahead and enter, and I want you to tab in one more just to make this look nice. And now this one, instead of doing like DT and DD, we don't have that in an unordered list. We just have a list item. So LI for that. So do a tag for LI. And for each one of these, it's going to be the page numbers. So we're going to do about. Okay. And then close the LI tag. Okay. Enter. Down from that, we'll do another LI tag. This one is going to be locations. Okay, and we'll close the LI tag. Oops, and I made a typo. Let me fix that. There we go. All right, and we're going to do menu. So LI menu. Another LI for reviews. And let me capitalize that. There we go. All right, catering, the next one. And then the last one is going to be contact. Okay. So I'll give you a second to get those entered in. All right. Now, after contact, we can backspace to go over one piece there. And I want to close this unordered list. So we'll do a closing tag for UL. Okay. And then we'll enter and go back, do backspace again, go back one more step, and we'll close the navigation part of that. And then you've already got the closing tag for the header. So don't need to do anything for that. All right, go ahead and save those changes. And we want to open the About Us page. And I don't believe that we have that open yet. Yep, we don't have that open yet. So let's go back to our file list and open our About page. And you should see this list that we've added in. Up here at the top, it's got About, Locations, Menu, Reviews, Catering, Contact. That's what we just typed. Okay. Now, I mentioned in a previous session that we were going to be dealing a lot with links. Well, now's the time for that. You'll notice that even though we've got our nice list created here, that they don't work. Okay, nothing is linked to anything. So we've got to go in and code that and add that in. So let's go back over to our notepad file. And still within the unordered list that we created, all right, we're going to be adding some links. Now, because they're in the same website, we don't have to do like full-blown links so that have like the HTTP : / all that stuff, the full link. We don't have to do that. What we do have to do though is do links just to the individual web page names because they're all in the same folder. The web server will be able to find it. All right, I'll explain a little bit more about that in a future session, but you'll see it in action here in just a minute. So for any link, we're going to do an opening tag between the LI and the About. Okay, well, opening tag, this one is going to be A, href. Okay, and that's pretty much the code that we're using for any type of link. Equals, and we're doing an open quote, and this is going to be ct_about.html. Okay, close quote and close the tag. Okay, and then after about, we're going to do a closing A tag, so /A, right, to close that tag. Now, it's important when you're coding this to be sure that you have the coding elements in the right order. So it's list items, so LI, and then you've got your A href equals ct_about.html. Okay. And then right after about, you've got the closing A tag, and then you have the closing LI tag. Don't do it reversed. Okay. It's important to have it in the right order. All right, and we're going to do this for each one of these elements, okay? So for location, it's going to be the same thing. Right after list item, we're doing A href equals ct_locations.html, close quote, close tag. All right, and then after locations, we're going to do the closing, /A on that, closing link tag on that after locations. Okay, for menu, it's going to be the same thing. So hopefully you're getting used to this by now. CT underscore, and this one is menu .html. We're going to close that quote and close the tag. And then after menu, we'll add that closing tag in there as well. All right. Same thing for reviews. We'll do a href equals CT underscore I'm sorry, I was doing menu again. CT underscore reviews .html. Close quote, close tag, and then after reviews, we're doing the closing tag for the link there too. Okay. Same thing for catering. So CT underscore catering .html. Close quote, close tag, and then after catering, the closing tag as well, and then the exact same thing for contact. So equals CT underscore contact. Okay, and then close that contact tag. Now, give you a minute to get caught up on that if you're still working. Something that I do want to mention, now is a good time to mention it, is that as you are creating websites on your own, now for these projects, they're all created for us, but you will have an opportunity to do a project later on in the semester for yourself. And then if you're just creating your own website at some point, it's really important and will be helpful to you to label or name pages, I should say, something that's easy to remember. So notice here, like about is just CT underscore about. Locations, CT underscore locations. Don't make it anything too complicated, because as you're doing code, you will be very glad that you don't have long names, and you will also be very glad that it's something easy to remember. So anytime you're trying to code a link, say for the reviews page, you don't have to remember some kind of long link. You just remember, oh, it's CT underscore reviews. So you're using the same naming convention for each of those pages. So that will be helpful for you. It would also be helpful really for if you were doing it for a business, for a customer as well, if they're trying to find a link. All right, so go ahead and save your work, and let's go back over to our browser and refresh the page. And each one of these links should be active now. If you hover over it, you should see it change in color. All right, that's another thing that we would note in our style sheet. So we'll click on, let's say, locations, and it should take you to the location page. I notice we don't have a navigation up here at the top over there, so it's a little bit different, but you get the idea. We got a menu page here, so all the links work. Not a bad idea to check those and be sure. All right. All right. Now, let's go back to our code. Now we want to mark an image as a link. Okay, this is just a little bit interesting, something we haven't done before. So we want to do the one, actually not the one that's down here in the body. We actually want to do the heading for the page. So it's actually not as hard as it sounds. So up here under the header element where it says image source, CT underscore logo 2, that piece, come right before the image. Okay. And I am going to do href equals, and we're going to link it to our start page, that first initial page that we did. So do an open quote, CT underscore start dot HTML, close quote, and close the tag. All right. And then after the image tag at the very end, we're going to add a closing A tag. Okay. And so what we did is we just enclosed the image, or excuse me, closed the link tag around the image source code. All right. So if we save our file now and go back to our web browser and refresh, you won't notice any changes at first, but if you hover over the curbside tie logo, you notice that it should be a link now. And if you click on it, it should take you back to this start page. Okay. Now, when we first looked at this page back in session 1.1, these links didn't work because we didn't have any pages created. But you'll notice now that we have the pages, if we wanted to go back to About Us, we should be able to click on About Us, and it should take us to the page that we want. Okay. Now, the next thing that we want to do is, and this isn't hard, it's just a little tedious. So be careful with it. But like I said, it's not really hard. What we want to do now is copy the entire, we want to add this list basically to every page of our website. Okay. Now that's not really hard to do. It's just a little tedious. So be careful when you're copying this. So you want to copy everything. They want us to copy basically every piece of the header tag, from the opening header tag to the closing header tag. Okay. So copy from this new link that we created down through this navigation list, okay, to the end of that navigation list. So be sure that you have the href piece in there, and be sure that you have the closing navigation tag. Very important that you have both of those things. And we're going to copy that. Okay. And we want to add this in for every page that we have, basically. Okay. So the first one they want us to do is location. So let's do that first, since that's the one we just came from. And we're going to come over here in our header tag. And we're going to highlight actually the image that they have in there, because we actually want to get rid of that and replace it with what we've got, because our updated, notice that this code doesn't have a link attached to it. So we want to add our link in. So let's highlight that, and we're going to paste our code in that we have for our locations page. Okay. And we actually want to do this for all of the pages that we did. So we're doing it for menu, reviews, catering, and contact as well. So let me go, I'll open each one of them. We've actually already got menu up. So let me go ahead and do menu. And so we're highlighting the text there, header, and getting rid of that and replacing it with our new text. All right. And let me go ahead and open up my folder and open up each one of these. So we did menu, we need to do reviews. So let me open that one up in Notepad++. And we're replacing that header text there. Okay. See, that's our reviews page. We want to do it under catering. So I'm going to go back and open my catering page here. And replacing that text and also our contact. Okay, and replace that. There we go. All right, so you should have it for each one of those. So it should be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages in total. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages open. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now, once you get that done, I want you to click on, actually it's a button up here in your menu, up near your menu bar up here at the top. Right beside of the regular save button, there's another button that says save all. So if you click on that one, it will save all and everything that you just changed. And it says, are you sure you want to save all of the modified documents? And we're going to say yes. I'm not going to say always yes, just in case. So I'll just say yes, and it should save every document that you have created there. And let's go back over to our web browser and verify. Let's verify on the locations page. So the About Us page was already up for me. So I'm going to click on locations, and it should take you over to locations, and we've got it. So even if we check some of our other pages like menu, reviews, catering, contact, everything looks like that we're in pretty good shape. Okay. All right. All right, the next thing we want to do is to link to an email address. So let me go back to my editor and let's go to our contact page. Let's see where that, oh, I've got it open right now. So I've got my contact page open. We want to change the Curbside Tie email address into a mail to link. All right, so now if we're creating an email address link, it's very similar actually to a regular link, but the code is just slightly different. So come down to where the email address is, and we're not going to include the actual word email. We're just going to include that email address. So we're going to do an open tag here, href equals open our quote. Now this is what's a little bit different. Okay, is we're going to do mail to, M-A-I-L-T-O, just like that. And we're going to do a colon with the email address that's in there. Now, you needed the email that's there. You actually need the address twice. So I'm going to go ahead and type it again. So curbside.tie@example.com. Okay. Close your quote on that and close the tag. And then you've got the actual text, curbside.tie@example.com. That way that will still display on the website. And then right after the .com, we're going to close that A tag. Okay. So the actual link code is over here, but the actual what's displayed on the website is right there. Now, you could not have that, for example, if you didn't want to have it for our website here, we've got to have it. But if you didn't want to have that, for an example, you could maybe say click here, right? Or something like that, click here to email, and it would still link it over to the email address that you have in there, but it's just slightly different. Okay, we'll save that and let's go back over to our browser, go to our contact page, and that should be a link. And if you look down here at the bottom of your screen, I can't really move my mouse down, but down here at the bottom of your screen near your Windows button, if you put your mouse over that, it should say mail to curbside.tie@example.com. So you can see that it actually did link appropriately. All right, now the next one that we want to do is to link to a telephone number. So same page on the contact us, we're going to the call option there, and we're right before the 704. Now, Okay, this one is going to be a little bit different just because it's not natural for us like a regular link. It's just a little bit different. We're going to do a href just before the 704. Okay, so a href equals, open your quote like you normally do. Now this is the part that's just slightly different. We're going to do TEL for telephone. So TEL colon, and we're going to do +1. Okay, 704, and all this is run together. 555 1151, and close the quote, close the tag. And then right after the 1151 on the actual phone number, we're going to do a closing a tag on that. All right, now while you're finishing typing that in, I want to explain a little bit about what we're doing here. If anybody has ever called an international number before, you know there is a country code that you have to dial. We don't dial that within the United States because we're in the United States. But if you were calling, say you were in the United Kingdom and called the United States, you can't just dial 704-555-1151. You actually have to dial the country code. So it's 1-704-555-1151 to tell the circuits and everything that, hey, I am calling the United States. I'm not calling a local number. So if we were calling over to the United Kingdom from over here in the United States, we would have to use their country code to be able to make that telephone call. So that's why you're adding that in the code. All right, it's very important that you add that in for the code to actually work like it's supposed to. All right, we'll save that. And we'll open up our web browser, refresh the page, and it should have the link in there. And if you hover over it, you'll see down there at the bottom, it's got the telephone and the information for where you can call. Now, a lot of times you probably wouldn't really use this link on like a computer like we're doing for coding. Where it would come in handy is if you were viewing this on a mobile site. And so somebody was looking up the Curbside Tie site, and they wanted to call the number. Instead of having to actually manually put the number in their phone, they could just click on the link right here and it would open it up on their phone and call it. So that's why you would want to have a link to an actual phone number. Right? And we'll go back to our editor. Now, we're mostly done with the project. Okay. But what I want to do, the last piece of the project is very important. And that is that we need to validate our website. Okay. With the W3C. And that's the World Wide Web Consortium. And they have a validator that basically runs it through and just to try to check for any syntax errors. So any kind of mistakes you might have made in the code so that your website might not work. Now, when you're doing your own websites on your own, this is very important to do as well to be sure that everything works. So what they want us to do is actually mess up our code just a little bit to test this out. So let's go over to our about. You should have all your pages open up here in your navigation in Notepad++. So let's click on our about page, and they actually want us to make some edits on here. So where, let's see where we're at. They want us to delete the about us heading. So let me get rid of that right down here under the article. Okay, let's get rid of the heading. And you can leave the space in there if you want to, because we'll add it back in just a little bit. And then they also want us to get rid of the image tag For our image down here, they want us to do the CT photo. They want us to just do pretty much get rid of the alternate text piece, the alt equals part. So just get rid of that part. So it's an open, image source equals CT photo 1.png. And let's actually get rid of the 1 as well. So they just want it to be image source equals CT photo dot PNG. And I don't think there's any other changes there that they want us to make. All right. So let's save those changes and remember what you've done, and we're going to edit it. So let's go back to your web browser, open a new tab, and we want to go to the validator website. So it's HTTPS, of course, // and then validator. Okay. .w3.org. Okay. And it says markup validation service, very similar to what I have. Okay, we want to validate it. Now you can validate it by URL. Right at this time, we don't have it uploaded to our web server. So we want to validate by file upload, but you can do it by the URL. You can also do it by direct input, meaning that you can just paste your code in there, but we want to do the file upload. We'll choose our file. And let's say I'm going to tutorial 1 and we want to do about. So I'll select my about file. There it is. And I want to click on check. Okay, and it's going to check. And it should find the 2 mistakes that we did. So it's telling that there's an error here. An image element must have an alt attribute except under certain conditions. Okay. And it even provides you a link here for details, consult guidance on providing text alternatives for images. Okay, well, we know what we did, so you don't have to click on that, but you see that it highlights the code and the problem. It also tells you what line it's on, what column it's on, things like that. All right, now for below, so that's an error. That's actually a mistake. That's not good, okay? The other one is just basically a warning, and it's telling us that the article lacks a heading, okay? Consider using H2 through H6. Well, we're actually using H1, and that's okay. Elements to add identifying headings to all articles. So it's just telling us that we need one. That's not necessarily critical. So it is critical that we have an alt attribute. Okay. It's not critical, like the website will work if we don't have a heading element, but it's just preferred. So that's why you have the difference between error and warning. Okay. So that's just and it's sort of an explanation of why. It's not really a mistake per se, right? But it's just something that needs to be really fixed to have proper code. All right. So let's go back over here to our file and let's fix those mistakes. So let's add in under article. We're going to reinsert heading 1, about us. Okay. And we'll fix the code. After our picture, we will add photo 1 again, and then we'll come after that and add our alt right back in and do our open and closing quotes. Okay, just like that. Now let's save that file, and they want us to run it back through our validator. Okay, and you can actually do it from this same page. You don't have to go back and do it again. So we can check by file upload. We can choose the file once again, choose the same file and check. And it should say document checking completed, no errors or warnings to show. Now, in the event that you had a situation where maybe you made a typo on one of the files that we did, and other than what we meant to make on there, then you might have had another error listed. So just keep that in mind. If something else showed up on your end, then it's possible that you made a typo somewhere and just need to fix something. Okay. All right, that is the end of session 1.3 for tutorial 1. So you are actually finished with tutorial 1 completely right now. All right, of course, if you have any questions, please let me know.